blessing of suffering. I want to share a quote from St. Teresa of Avila on the blessing of suffering. She writes in one of her letters, "I realize better every day what a grace our Lord has shown me in enabling me to understand the blessings of suffering, so that I can peacefully endure the want of happiness in earthly things, since they pass so quickly." Well, to suffer is to be human. It's an unavoidable part of being alive, and this always raises the question, if God, then why suffering? And as Christians, we know that suffering is not evidence against God, but evidence for God. It's the suffering of Christ that we see God's greatest love for us. His grace most greatly displayed through the suffering when his flesh is broken, his blood poured out for the world. So to suffer is to bear the image of Christ, what Michael Gorman, author and professor, calls cruciformity. That is, growing in the image of God in every way, especially in the form of the sacrificial love of the crucifixion. This is a call to view our sufferings different from the world. The world seeks comfort, and it seeks to see suffering as a consequence, which tends to lead them to fall to sin and lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes as a medication. But we read this in 1 Peter 4, verses 1 through 2. Peter says, "Since therefore Christ suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves in the same way of thinking. For whoever has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, so as to live for the rest of time in the flesh, no longer for human passions, but for the will of God." Peter is telling us that to suffer is to follow in the footsteps of the sufferings of Christ. Peter wants us believers to arm ourselves with this reality and to focus on the will of God, not to cope with or fall to worldly things that satisfy our human passions. So I ask you, how has suffering deepened your relationship with God? Or how has suffering unexpectedly blessed you? I hope this gives you something to contemplate and chew on. I hope the topic of suffering becomes less scary and less of a point of contention in your faith, but for a place for you to see you actually can grow in the image of Christ. You can grow in that cruciform image, that a God who placed himself, adding humanity, placing himself into our sufferings for us as his greatest act of love. And how does that help shape us when we suffer? Love you. God bless you all.